Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the LinkedIn Live Lunch Hour with Michael Goldberg. I'm your host, Michael Goldberg. Hope everybody's staying safe and healthy during the pandemic. And today we have a very, very special guest. His name is James Ellis. He's with Universum. He's the director of employer brand there. And I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about what companies should be doing during this time. Should they be pushing their employer brand? If so, how should they be pushing it? And this is the expert that I have on here. Let me bring Brian on the screen real quick. Let me just make sure here. Brian or James. Let's see.
There you go. You found me.
There. Yeah. Hey, one thing, James, make sure you go to your phone. If you see the activation of live, that's one thing I forgot to set before we were going. But if you just click on me, my profile, my activity, and then you will see myself going, or see our two handsome faces on the screen here as we go live. But be sure to turn the volume down. So, good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
You know what? Can't complain. Not doing anybody any good, is it?
That's not true. That means you're not trying hard enough. There's so many reasons to complain right now. I mean, there are so many.
There are, but I'm trying to be that light in the darkness and put on the face that you're not going to help us get anywhere, right?
No, probably not. That's probably not. I'm just saying. But yeah, no, I'm in the same boat. I think all things considered, all the horrible things that could be potentially happening mostly are not happening. So doing okay. Hopefully everybody's feeling the same way.
Absolutely. So are you in Chicago?
I am. Yeah. Beautiful, almost quite downtown Chicago. We had a day of spring. It was nice. It went away.
Yes, it got really cold here in Dallas the last couple of days. And then and we were at like 93 or 94 several days, probably late last week. And Sunday was beautiful, and then the bottom fell out.
Yeah.
But it's all good. It's all good. So, all right, let's talk first about you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about Universum Global and what you do for them.
So I'm an employer brand nerd, and I say that with so much love and actually data to back it up. Last time I checked Google, if you type in employer brand nerd, I am anywhere from 4 to 7 research results on the top page. So I feel pretty confident that I am in fact the employer brand nerd. Google seems to have said so. That was not.
You should write a book about that.
Well, you know what? Maybe I'll try one day. I'll hope. Many books. Who's to say? So I've been doing employer brand for a while. I cut my teeth at the big agency everybody knows. I'm not going to name them. Where we did a lot of employer brand activation. We worked for 60 some clients, massive clients, small clients. We had a lot of fun doing it. And I left and I said, what's the thing about being agency work? And maybe some people here will understand, and some people will be on the other side and go, oh, that's interesting. Is that agency people tend to have their nose pressed up against the glass, right? They know that we are, every time a client looks at us, they just look at us as a cash register. There's like, we're just churning those bills out. Every time I speak to you, it's $150 or $200 an hour or whatever it is. And consequently, we get shut out of the real conversations. We kind of like, you stay over there where you're less expensive, and we'll have the big strategy conversation. And then we'll let you know what the strategy is. And I'm sitting there going, but I can help. I have so many good ways of helping you. And so you just felt very out of, your nose is trying to press number, please. And I said, what happens if I put this in-house? What if I put this on my back and say, I have all these thoughts and all these theories and all these ideas that could be true, but obviously I haven't tested them. So maybe I'm just full of it. So maybe I just go ahead and do it. And that's where I landed at Groupon. So I did 18 months there, and that was a huge challenge and a lot of fun. We did great work, though it's not having a good news cycle at the moment. Left that to do consulting, and left that to do work for Universum, where I get to evangelize about the power of employer brand. They are a very global company, which is a lot of fun. I get to meet a lot of smart, interesting people. But that's, the challenge and the fun of it is talking about it with data now, which is something I never got the chance to do before. So Universum has all this data, and I don't want to turn this into a sales pitch. We can do that another day. But we have a lot of data around how people think and how people perceive companies and why they want to work there and what moves them and what motivates them. And that's what I get to talk about now. So suddenly I get all this analytics stuff that I hadn't really tapped into before, along with this employer brand stuff, which I live and breathe for. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is fun. And that's kind of where I live.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And I remember when Universum was just getting started. I was working with Crystal Miller Lay at the time, and
Sure.
she was working with I forget the CEO's name, but was working with the founder and CEO of Universum to help put these things together. And American Heart was going to be a big part of this campaign, but unfortunately, things just didn't take off with us the way we wanted to.
Yeah.
So, but very familiar with what you guys do and appreciate it. So, let's dive in. I want to talk about two things today. The first thing I want to talk about is what can employers be doing to elevate their employer brand right now? But number two, what can job seekers be doing to elevate their personal brand?
Yeah.
Right? Let's talk about that, because we get a lot of 20-something% unemployment right now, and this is the time for people to stand up with their brand. So,
Yeah.
but let's jump into the first one.
Yeah.
The employer side. So, what have you seen over the last 3 to 4 weeks with employers pushing out their brand? Do you think? I think it's kind of come to a halt.
Well, I don't think that's true at all. I think that there's been such a shift that maybe, here's the thing. If you see what employer brand is through the sense of it's about a couple of videos and your Glassdoor score, or it's the career website or your microsite on some, to be named third-party website someplace else, who cares? Or, you can see employer brand very much through a drinking straw, right? You can see it just through that tiny, tiny little hole. And a lot of people really do that. They think of employer brand as, how do I fill the talent pipeline by throwing out a couple of events, throwing out a couple of videos, throwing out a couple of, hey, I'm going to tweet some stuff. It's a bunch of social media. They just think of it as, how do I do this tiny little part of hiring and talent acquisition? And that is a way of looking at it. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, except you are. If you think about it as really about branding as a concept of why, right? The real core of what an employer brand is what people think it must be like to work for you, based on everything, right? The product is great, product sucks. Executives are great, executives suck. The marketing is good, marketing sucks. Customer service is great, customer service sucks. Recruiter's great, recruiter sucks. Job postings suck, is great. Career site sucks, great. Glassdoor sucks, great. Whatever. The list goes on and on. There's literally a million different ways to perceive a brand. And some of those things you're not necessarily cognizant of, right? If you are having a good, I think of, I like to joke lovingly about cable companies because they're easy to kick around, and to say, look, if you've ever had to call your cable company and ask for service, you never walked away feeling like, I can't wait to work for that company. It's the way their customer service is modeled is a churn and burn kind of model, and that's just how they built their business, and I'm not going to tell them they're wrong, but it doesn't fill me with, man, that's an innovative company and I want to work for them. So consequently, customer service impacts employer brand. If I think this is an innovative place and then I see that kind of customer service, I go, maybe it's not so innovative. That changes my perception of an employer brand. So it all impacts. Now, what you've seen happen in the last 4 weeks is a couple of very interesting ideas. First off, employer brand has quietly been the go-to crisis PR move for a while. Papa John's is a jerk. They get rid of him. They take him off all the ads real quick. Who do they bring in immediately? Franchise owners and pizza makers, the people doing the work. And then Shaq came later. For a while, it was 6 months of just, I'm the guy who makes your pizza. I'm the woman who owns your franchise. It was employer brand front and center. Wells Fargo, huge crisis. Here are the bank tellers. Here are the bank managers who did nothing wrong. Please don't hate us. It's a go-to crisis move. What you've seen is the crisis isn't specific to a company. The crisis is specific to all of us. And so what's happened is leadership, who is usually the ones causing problems and influence employer brands somewhat informally or influentially, suddenly are front and center. So you've got Marriott, Dell, there's so many companies where the leadership stands front and center and says, this is what we're going through. This is who we are. This is the problem. This is what we are trying to do. The leader says, you're all fired and you get no sick pay, and sorry for that. That's going to impact your employer brand. The leader says, I'm taking a massive pay cut. I won't take a bonus this year, so we can make sure we can ride this thing out together. Impacts the employer brand. So that stuff came front and center. But what I think is very interesting, or what we're about to see, is this idea that after 4 weeks, all this inspirational video, which has been great, I'm kind of done. It's up to my eyeballs now. It's too much. It's inspiration overkill. I think we're starting to move into a world in which we say, okay, yes, the world sucks right now. It's complicated, it's messy, and we got to figure this out. And yes, a little bit of hope is a good thing, but only eating hope is like only eating candy. It's just, you need some meat, you need some potatoes, you need some vegetables, you need a salad at the end of there. You need to kind of have some real nutrition. And that's what's
Speak for yourself.
I'm too. That's a whole separate podcast.
Right.
What you're seeing is that the conversation is less about let's be inspirational and more about here's what it means for us as we get back to work. Here's what this new normal, not with, less with the bunny ears and more with the reality of what happens with 6 months we're all at home. What happens when 12 months we're still all at home, or for the most part we're all still at home? What happens when this interaction is the norm and not the aberration? Okay, how do we get work done? And so companies are starting to shift that, and that absolutely impacts employer brand. So to me, it's all employer brand, not just because it makes my job more interesting and complicated, but because it is, because all those things impact how I perceive any given company. Now, flip it, because you had a second part of that question, and yes, I kept track. On the candidate side, what's happening?
Before we go there,
okay.
I have a few. I want to ask a few follow-up questions. No, it's fine. If you want to take over, go right ahead. Hey, ask me about
Don't tempt me. That's what I do.
I know, right? No, but it's what you said is spot on. Now, here's what I would like to see. There was an article that came out. I forgot the gentleman's name. It just came out today, and I'll share it on my LinkedIn Live feed later. But it's about kind of what is HR doing? What is recruiting doing? What is it about branding? Everyone's working from home. People are the brick and mortar of the colleges and universities is probably that we've proven we can work virtually.
Yeah.
I mean, my prediction is that the commercial real estate's in for a big downfall. And you and I have discussed this offline, right?
Yeah.
So have you seen a lot, because I haven't seen it, where companies, well, I've seen CEO letters come through, through all the Rapid Reward, the Bonvoy and all the different programs that I'm a part of, that I'm getting all these, we here at Marriott believe blah, blah, blah. And it's all comes great, but somebody wrote that for the CEO. It doesn't come across as heartfelt. And I think that is a little discerning or concerning, but what I also would like to see more of is from an employer brand side, and let me know if you agree or disagree, is showing employees doing their work at home, showing pictures of them having virtual meetings that it can work. Have you seen much of that? I haven't.
Oh, my LinkedIn feed is littered. I mean, especially that first week when everybody thought it was fun and novel, that we all had to do this thing. And then they all figured out that on Zoom, you can change your backgrounds. And then everybody kind of went crazy with that for a couple of days. That stuff is the Brady Bunch effect. Everybody shows the dog. Everybody shows their kids. I have seen lots of that, and what it's showing
from employers, like employers branding that as,
both.
Hey, we're good.
Yes, both of it is. Some of it is, hey, look at how weird our world is, and here's me, and then here's the rest of my team, and isn't this cool? And some of it is, here's a couple of examples of how we, not a me, how we are coping and shifting gears to kind of meet this new challenge, which is really where it is. So I've seen both sides of it.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that there should be from the employer brand specialists and leadership that's out there. I think that that's what they need to be. They need to focus on that. They need to focus on the businesses. For the companies where business is as usual, they need to be focused on that. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. I think that, how to set up a home office. I think everybody decided to become an expert all at once.
Oh, yeah.
And people saw it as a way to try to capitalize. And I know that there are folks out there that are career coaches and resume writer, whatever you want to call them. They're robbing people blind, charging them $3,000 to $5,000 to join their package, and they guarantee to help people get jobs. And you're thinking, what's going on here?
Yeah, I'm quibble with that. I think the value of a job is whatever you think the job is worth. So I don't quibble with the money, and I don't begrudge people making money. However, you can't guarantee anything anymore. The whole world's upside down, topsy-turvy. That said, I think there are about 100,000 articles written about how to set boundaries between your work life and your day life when you're both in the same place. I've seen about 100,000 articles about, how to best light your room so that your video call looks fantastic. I mean, we've, in the same way that we saw about 100,000 articles about this is the best way for a recruiter to notice you, and that's what constituted employer brand content in a lot of career sites. Sadly, it's like, yeah, we needed the 100,001th. It's like no one needs that stuff. We got it. But yes, it is very much about, okay, now what? We survived, it's in a lot of ways. And I do not mean to step on toes. I do not mean to downplay anybody's emotions here. But a lot of ways, we went through a very weird 9/11 in this process, where it wasn't just one day things happened. It was you saw it happening, you saw it coming, you kind of went, is this really happening? And for a week, we're like, and we, some of us saw China starting to happen, then Italy started to announce, and you're like, this is coming to us, what do we do? Okay, then it hits. And then a week or two of just white knuckling through this process, and we realized we're still here. But for the most part, most of us are happy and safe as much as we can be. It's like, okay, what is the next phase? And so we are starting to unclench a little bit and talk about, okay, the news is the news, and the news is terrifying, and you got to keep
watching it.
A little bit, please. Yeah, I mean, I'm telling myself as much as anybody, but we do have to get to work, and that is where the employer brand has always been. It's the beating heart of what employer brand is. Whether you put a gloss of here's a pretty video on it, here's a great career site, here's a great whatever it is, all the automated tools, all the whatever it is. In the end, telling the story of what it's like to work here now, today, right now, is all employer brand is. The fact that everything that you used to say that a month ago probably went out the window. Okay, great. That just means you got to start from scratch. But the other part of it is you are telling a story of the company. You are truly telling the DNA beating heart story of the company. And if your company sees employer brand as just Glassdoor score, you are not involved in the conversation of what are we doing? How do we move this forward? How do we take advantage of the crisis? How do we make this an opportunity? And I know a lot of employer brand people who are, again, nose pressed up against the glass saying, I can help you talk to people. I can help you talk to our staff. I can help you talk to candidates. I can help you engage and tell that story. And marketing is like, no, we're going to do it this way. And they just kind of step on you. But the companies where the employer brand and the marketing are well connected, well aligned, or in fact, sometimes have blurred the line between those teams, those are the companies who are going to take huge advantage of what is happening and what's about to happen. Where you start to see a truly cohesive brand. I did not say employer brand, I meant to say brand. And the brand is a thing. And I look at this way to see candidates and staff, and somebody else looks at it this way to see potential customers, and someone looks at this way to see potential investors, and someone looks at this way to see other marketplaces. Everybody's looking through the same thing to find their own facet perspective of that audience that they serve. And that's where we need to be. That is a hard road to get from where most people are today to what that looks like tomorrow.
So let's talk about some, and then we'll kind of jump into the
Sure.
candidate market here in a minute. What are some of the things that, from an employer brand standpoint, that companies should be doing? We've talked about, but what are some of the hot topics right now in employer branding that you're seeing being posted out there by Universum clients, or just in general, the types of posts that they're making to gain engagement? Companies aren't going to have any problem hiring employees anymore for a while.
It's going to be different. It's going to be different. And I don't see unemployment number as a simple spectrum. They say, easy to hire, hard to hire. I think it's very much companies always try to hire the best, whatever the situation. And so, and that is where the fun things of an employer brand is that it's not about more, it's about better. Whereas every other marketing conference in the world, every other marketing idea in the world, every other marketing book in the world is all about more eyeballs, more share of wallet, more share of voice, more leads, more. More is always better every single time, no differentiation. Employer brand's the only one where you say quality over quantity. In fact, I don't want more, I want one. I just want the one, the best possible candidate. Now, what happens is, as capacity and availability of labor increases, that means your best just got better. And so companies aren't suddenly going to say, I'm a washing candidates, just pick one and go. People aren't donuts. People aren't tacos. People aren't nuts and bolts. They're always, hiring managers are always going to want to hire the best. So the process will not get shorter. The process will still be clunky and messy and fraught with these things we call messy humans on every single conceivable level, because we're all looking for better talent. This is a chance for companies to level up, and they know that. So I don't think that it's going to be easier to hire. I think it's just going to be about, we all leveled up. Now, from a candidate's point of view, that means, well, you can't just say, I know how to code JavaScript and someone will call you, which, by the way, from 2 months ago, you could probably expect that. If you said, I know a little bit about Hadoop, the line forms to the right. I mean, it's just insane that, certain things, technical skills. And I always joke, every recruiter who hires technical people should go make a fake LinkedIn account and just list a couple of skill sets with a blank photo and like a Bugs Bunny name, like a total BS name, and see how many recruiters ping you anyway, because you just have that thing, because you're a ping in somebody's Boolean script. That's just
for that search.
Exactly. It's a lot of fun. But the shift is now, okay, so who am I and what am I offering? Okay, it's not so much about hard skills, because as we've moved through the industrial revolution of things, it's not about the hard skills. Anybody can download a hard skill. I can learn to play piano in a couple of weeks with some YouTube videos and a little bit of practice. If you say, we'll only hire you if you know how to play piano, great. I'm going to go download that matrix style into my brain because of YouTube and podcasts and practice. Boom. You tell me I need to learn JavaScript. It's not that I'm going to be an expert in 3 weeks, but I can download enough knowledge to get the job, and I can figure out how to do it, which, by the way, let's be fair, 3 weeks after you hire me, you're not going to need JavaScript anyway. You're going to change directions. The job changes. Everything's morphable, everything flexible. No one has the crystal ball. So consequently, it's not about how do I download skills to show I'm good. It's about what's the story I can tell about my work and why I do what I do and how I do what I do that makes the recruiters go, I love you, and I can't wait to put you in front of the hiring managers so that they fall in love with you too.
Absolutely. So before we start talking about the employer or the employee, or not the employee, the job seeker side of things, definitely want to announce this. We've got a let's see, you're going to go away for a minute here, James. Hold on. So on April the 21st, that's a week from today, from if you're on the East Coast, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. or 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, or 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central. There's going to be a virtual job fair. And for employers, it is only $25. And James, that's a pretty good price, don't you think? It's a steal at twice the price, and we're trying to land as many companies. So certainly if you're listening live, or if you're on the replay, and you're an employer and you're hiring, and James, I will ask for your help here, to maybe push this out to different people. And you're back on now. Sure. People can see your face, so no picking your nose. But basically, we would love to have as many job seekers, and we would love to have as many employers on, helping people putting people back to work. And that's what, my mission is going to be for the next probably 6 months, until I can pivot back to my old, to my business. But we all know it's probably going to be about 18 months before I can truly pivot back to that. How long do you think we're in this for? Like, as a job seeker, 2 years, 18 months? What do you think?
Look, everybody needs money. Everybody needs to eat. Everybody needs everybody else to work so that they can work. We are all incentivized to get through this as fast as humanly possible. The more I have clients, the more I can spend money on food and stuff for my daughter, and the more businesses who make that stuff can make it. And the economy is a function of speed. It's about how fast can you take a dollar and move it from place to place to place to place. The more everybody's panicked, and as those of us who are old enough to remember this magical thing called the 70s, it's when people are terrified to move the dollar around that things get bad. And so right now, we haven't hit that moment of everybody's terrified of moving the dollar around. Companies have fallen apart. Companies are shifted and shrunk, and I get that. Data over at Universum says that most companies haven't changed their spending. They've just changed where they're spending it. They have these budgets. Now they can't do a lot of big events. Now it's going to be a lot of how do we invest in virtual recruiting and interview tools. It's about in university recruiting on a digital level where 3 years ago there was a big spark of interest and then it kind of faded and suddenly it's like, whoa, no, we have to do it right. We're here. And so the money's there, the movement is there, the change is there. It's about we all are individually going to have to figure out what the new normal looks like to position ourselves better, right? What made a great candidate 3 months ago is not what's going to make a great candidate 3 months from now. And so every job seeker is going to have to kind of figure out, how do I tell that story? How do I position myself to be a great fit?
Yeah, I mean, part of my services and where I'm pivoting to help job seekers, and I'm not charging anywhere near that. Nowhere near. So,
well, my wife's a career coach, and so I know she talks to people a lot. And the funny thing is that people's brains are wired, and this has taken a very interesting spin that I didn't plan on. But people's brains are wired to buy a thing. They want to buy a package. They want to buy a set of services. They want to buy a clump of things that someone's going to say, do all these things that solves your problems. But that most candidates need about that much nudge in the right direction, just at the right time to put them right back on path, and they'll get to where they want to be. But it takes an hour or two to listen to those people and figure out, no, they got that. No, they figured that out. No, the resume isn't horrible. And you're like, oh, there it is. Pop it right back into place, and there it is. That's the fun part, is that you're consulting and being a therapist to their professional career. It takes time to get there. Selling it and what you give are two different things. And that's where things are going to be very, very complicated.
Right. And so, my thing is, I've got my plan is a 5-step plan. It's create a strategic job search strategy plan, write out your story. Cause I think don't you think that's where a lot of candidates and even companies sometimes fail, is they don't have their story to tell and how to tell it when they're networking, because there's going to be a lot of, requests for informational interviews and a lot of requests for networking, things of that nature. What's your thoughts on that, about telling the story? Do you think?
The story is the funny thing is that as much as we insert and inject technology to try and do things at scale, we're still humans making decisions, right? One of the things they teach you in marketing is that even though, let's say you're talking about B2B business, you're trying to sell enterprise software to some other business, your person, they're a person. B2B is just the way of, it kind of outlines the hurdles you have to go through from procurement and statements of work, and legal has to touch it. But in the end, one person has to sell it, one person has to buy it. It is a person-to-person market. Job seeking is the same way. And it doesn't matter how much technology you throw at it. I know people want to kind of obviate some of let's skip ahead and let's jump ahead. So the computer picked who the top 3 candidates and I'll just interview them. You're like, no, that assumes so many things that are not true. In the end, it is still one candidate telling a very interesting story. And that story has to only be interesting to one person, the hiring manager. People make mistakes when they try to, and this is a great one. You've seen the surveys that say women prefer men over a certain height. Women prefer men who do these things. Men prefer women who look like this. And you're like, okay, that's a great aggregate stat that means exactly jack. It means nothing. Because I know plenty of people who are short and happily married. I know plenty of people who are ugly and happily married. I know plenty of women who we'll have a whole other conversation about that. There are people who fall outside the norm. But what they did is they aren't trying to appeal to everyone. Brad Pitt, Ryan Gosling appeals to functionally everyone. Enough of that curve that you go, yeah, everybody on the outside is an outlier, but there aren't too many of them. We all can't be that, and we all aren't that. But at the end, I don't need 1 million women to fall in love with me. I need one. Same thing for careers. I don't need 1 million companies to go, that dude's the dude. I need one company to go, that dude is the dude we've been waiting for so long. And that only happens when you tell a story. And the story is kind of like whistling a tune. And you put it out in the world and people go, that's a stupid tune. I don't like it. I'm ignoring it. I'm listening for other tunes, whatever. And one person goes, that is a rockin' tune. And they whistle it back. And that's how you make the connection. That's what it's all about. There is no technology, and I don't perceive a way for that technology to ever exist that says, how do you find that perfect match? How do you find that connection? How do you find the sense that not only can this person do the job, this person has the right mindset as the job evolves, which, by the way, the second the job is written down, the job description, that job description is 100% obsolete. Let's move on. Nothing is static. There is no such thing. You can't predict where the job's going to go. You can't predict what the outcome's going to be. I've spent a lot of time thinking about the idea of what is a job. A job is not a list of tasks. A job is an outcome. If you say you're a salesperson, but you run sales via marketing and building a good following and connecting to people and letting people say, I would like some of that, and that's how you make a sale, you're a salesperson, but you're a marketer. If you decide to write an app that lets people kind of play with the tool and use the tool and figure it, and they say, I would like to subscribe and buy that thing, are you a salesperson or are you a developer? Well, you're a salesperson, but are you really a developer? All these different ways, content marketing, or all these different ways of engaging to say, look, it's not about the task. It's not about how many times you pick up the phone and say, do you want to buy a thing? Do you want to buy a thing? Do you want to buy a thing? It's not about how many meetings you make in Salesforce. It's not about some sort of criteria or quantity you have to plug in somewhere. It's not about KPIs. It's about how do you achieve this objective? The world is yours. Figure it out. If you want to do it via tap dancing and sidewalk chalk, good for you. Make it happen. Because if you can make it happen, who cares how you did it? And that is where all jobs are going for the most part. If you can't be replaced by a robot, that is what your job's about to be. And if it isn't going to be about that, it is about to be replaced by a robot.
Well, do you think that, I agree with you. I think results are important. I think for job seekers, though, it's important to be able to tell the story of how you got there. Granted, you got the result, but you've got to be able to tell the story of how you got there. And if you need to throw in some KPIs to show the outcome, that's fine.
But it's not about the KPI, it's about the outcome and what you're really doing. You know this. You've seen a million resumes. It's about, here are the things I've been responsible for. Who the hell cares what you're responsible for? It's about, what did you achieve? How did you help this company succeed? How did you help this company do the thing it wanted you to do? That is the whole story. And most resumes are bad at doing that. They head nod to it at best.
When I talk to job candidate, or when I talk to candidates or those seeking opportunities now, one of the pieces of advice I give to them, like when we're doing our discovery call, is like, you should be putting yourself out there, commenting, sharing, engaging with the different platforms. But only maybe 1% decide to take action on it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's
why do you think that is? What do you think that they're just? I mean, we can always fall on the excuse that they're scared.
No. Here's the deal. And I'm going to steal from Tim Ferriss, who I don't normally steal from, but in this case, he's 100% right. If it was all about knowledge, if it was simply about knowing the answer, we'd all be millionaires with six-pack abs. It's not about the knowledge of how to get six-pack abs. It's the willingness to say, I'm not eating that donut, and at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go to the gym and do the thing that makes me get the six-pack abs. It's not about knowing to do it, but that's what we sell. Well, your answer is, you got to do that thing. The will to do it is impossible. The will to do it is so few and far between. And I think people, and I don't want to make too broad a generalization, but apparently I'm going to anyway, is that people hope that it happens anyway, because it has, right? So many people have tripped into jobs. Everybody on this call has run into someone at another company. You look at them and you go, how did you get this job exactly? How do you not get fired every 20 minutes? You're not good at this job, right? And yet they seem to be oblivious to the fact that they suck at there's job. And there's so many people like that. And I just look at them and how?
Recruiters.
But whatever worked, it worked. And so they just kind of plod along. They don't know that they're about to be crushed. My favorite example of this is, I was a couple years ago, I was a hiring manager and I was hiring to replace someone. And I said, and the person I'm replacing that person, they were leaving and I was going to bring some new one in. And I said to her, Tori, that was her name, because that's what I called her. I said, Tori, I'm going to give you the best life lesson, professional lesson you've ever had in your life. And she looked at me like, you're high as a kite. And I said, no, I'm not. And I said, here are 75 resumes of people who applied to take your job. Find 3 good candidates. She goes, how do I do that? I said, well, a lot of different ways to do it. You could sort, you can kind of say good, okay, not good, but just go through them. And she came back the next day and she went, oh my God, 98% of these resumes are functionally exactly the same. I said, yes. Yes, they are. They read the book, they looked at the webpage, they did the thing they thought they were supposed to do. There it is. And that is who you're competing against. So if you think I'm going to go write my resume and I'm going to do the thing that the website said or the book said to do, guess what? Everybody else did too. You have to figure out what is the thing that is special internal to you to be special. But the fear is they're doing that Ryan Gosling thing. It's like, but I have to be attracted to everybody. It's like, no, you don't. You just have to be attracted to one person. And that one company might be a nonprofit. It might be a startup. It might be IBM. It might be Boeing. It might be, pick a company. You don't know who it is. The trick is you have to know who you are so that you can whistle that tune out in the world and someone goes, that's my new favorite song. It's the fact that anything that's easy to get, knowledge that is easy to get is not knowledge that is worth money. It's not worth having. In fact, somebody in SEO used to say, the easier a trick or a hack is to do, the less useful it is, because now everyone's done it and it's raised the game a little bit.
Well, it's kind of like sourcing and Boolean search, right?
Yeah. If everybody knows Boolean searches and everybody's running the same kind of Boolean queries, guess what? They're seeing the same people over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And consequently, it changes the dynamic of how the conversation happens.
Absolutely.
Not drunk, by the way. I know it sounds like it, but I'm not drunk.
Well, I didn't. No one's accused you. At least not online, or I'm not accusing you. But I think you're spot on. I mean, it's true. You could sit on Google for days to find out about what's going to get you hired. How do you stand out? Yep. But nobody really tells you the truth. It's the same information over and over and over again.
Yep.
What are some ways and suggestions that you could that you would provide advice to job seekers on what they could do differently to try to stand out to their people? The hiring managers or the recruiters.
Well, let's unpack that a smidge. If it's just a matter of standing out, my recommendation is buy yourself a nice chicken outfit. Wear it to everywhere you go. You'll stand out. No question, you will stand out. Will anyone hire you? Unless you're looking for a chicken outfit expert. I mean, who's to say? I think they hire cows, so no. Hey, I don't know. It's hard to say. Anything that helps you stand out is fine in that it helps you stand out, but now what do you do? And so there's a great, I hit a thread somewhere on LinkedIn because I live on LinkedIn like everybody else here does. And it says, pictures in resumes, yay or nay? And it was a good split, 60-40 no, 40% yay. And I went, yeah, but there's a job in which that one person looks exactly a certain kind of way. It tells that story of who they are and what they're all about that makes the hiring goes, yes, that was the kind of person I think I'm looking for. That's exactly what I want. It's not about playing the masses. It's not about playing the averages. It's about saying, understand who you are and what makes you truly special at this thing. Is it the fact that you can do it in Spanish? Is it the fact that you can do it with one hand tied behind your back? Is it the fact that you can do it from home while everybody's screaming at you? Is it the fact that you never sleep? What is the thing that makes you specific and special and unique, that makes you not everybody else? If a hire manager, they get 100 resumes just like Tori did, why is yours going to stand out? If you understand what makes you different, and you imbue your resume at every single level. That means font choice, kerning choice, word choice, headline choice. Do you put a picture or do you not put a picture? How do you structure your resume? All of those choices are put into the resume, which, let's be fair, is a commercial for you. Commercials are magical because they're 30 seconds. And for those of you who don't know anything about commercial production, in 30 seconds, figure 28 frames a second times 30 seconds. You're painting about 2,000 pictures to make that, or less than that, about 1,500 pictures to make that work. Every single frame of every single second is scanned and digested and dissected and thought about. Do we make the can a little bit more that way? Do we make it a little more that way? Do we raise it up? Should it be sweaty? How much? Everything is dissected to say, not do I get attention, but does it tell the story I'm trying to tell? Treat your resume the exact same way. Understand, are you about being a consummate professional with a bow tie and glasses and you're doing that professorial thing? Great, do that. Make the font choice boring as hell, make the picture of you with a bow tie, make everything, no colors, no nothing. You're an artist, Great. I want to see 17 colors because you're a color artist. I want to see multiple font choices, not just because it's random, because you found a way to make 7 different fonts work on a single one-page resume. I want you to show me to say, it can be done because I'm the mofo that knows how to do that. That's what I want to see. I want you to be the thing you are. So in about 3 seconds, which by the way is how long a resume or a recruiter has with your resume, as they scan initially to say, no, not who I'm looking for. No, not who I'm looking for. Oh, this is interesting. And that's when you go, I'm going to read the rest of my resume. You know, the data that says recruiters only look at your resume for 20 seconds, that's an aggregate number. They look at it for 3 seconds to go, should I throw this away? Yes, good. Next. Should I throw this away? Good. Yes, next. Should I throw this away? Good. They're waiting to find someone that says, buddy, read me. I have something to offer that no one offers. And that's when the recruiter goes, now I'm going to give you 3 minutes. And that's when you do it.
Absolutely. And I think that when they can, and I appreciate when I was in corporate recruiting, I appreciated the resumes that stood out.
Yes. Because how do you choose between 5 resumes that are the same? You can't. You're flipping a coin, hoping for the best, and that's no way to live. You have to be different because it's the only way you get attention so that you can get the action you're looking for.
Absolutely. So got a couple more minutes left here before our time is up. So what are some of the what are some of the big issues that you see on the horizon with employer brand and hiring? Are there disconnects? Are there connects? What are some of the trends that you're seeing, once we return to somewhat normalcy?
And the funny thing is, the answers are the same I would give to a candidate, that it's all about standing out in a way that is true and authentic to who you are. So for example, I did a webinar a week or 2 ago. The days just blend, who knows, for pharmaceutical and biotech companies. I said, look, I picked who Google said were the top 5 of your companies. I grabbed the first page of your career site, and they all say the same thing. Innovation saves people's lives. Innovation saves people's lives. Innovation saves people's lives. Like, that's true. I believe you. No one gets into pharmaceuticals because they want things to stay the same. They're looking to invent the future. I get it. They're looking to save lives. But you know what company is a pharmaceutical company that isn't looking to change the future and saves lives? Yeah, me neither. There's no such thing. So saying you're all about innovation saving lives tells me nothing. It's like the hospital that says we care about our patients. Like, well, yeah, you're a hospital. That's your job. That's not how you stand out or tell a story about who you are. So in the same way, the candidate who has these 5 skills, I have these 5 skills. Yeah, good for you. So does everybody else. What's below that? And that's the game of employer brand, to say, okay, and just talking about pharma because it's easier, for all these pharma companies, yes, innovation and saving lives. Yes, I'm not saying that's not true. I'm saying it's table stakes. It's good hygiene. What's below that? Is it about work-life balance? Is it about prestige? Is it about training and development? Is it about stability? Is it about ethics? Is it about gender equality? We can go on for about a list of about 40 different things that you should be talking about beyond the obvious. And that's where employer brand needs to live. The problem is, and this is a broad brush of which I paint with, because I know a lot of people who could do this really, really well, and I'm not talking about them. The problem is the employer brander in most companies is not capable of saying that to the company. They don't know how to say, hey, you sound like every other flipping company that does the exact same thing. I can't tell you, apart from other companies, the fact that I've been here 3 years is the only reason I can tell you from our 4 other competitors. That's the only reason. And the companies are very conservative in that regard. They tend to say, okay, let's just focus on the thing we know is true. And for pharma, it's innovation and saving lives. And they don't think about how do we differentiate. The employer brander who knows how to say, those things are true, throw them out, stop talking about them. Focus on this thing that makes you special. That is a infinitely harder conversation to have. It's an infinitely harder trick to pull off, but it is exactly what every employer brand professional needs to be doing, because that's where the future is. True differentiation based on not the obvious stuff, but what's beyond the obvious stuff. We're only moving into a world with more and more available information to us. It's not like anybody's hiding any of that stuff. The question is, if they can see all that stuff, what is the story you want them to take away? That is where you make a difference.
James Ellis, you've said a lot. It's been
That's true.
you have you are never at a loss for words, but the information that you provide is so important. I hope that the folks on the broadcast and that are watching the replay do get a lot out of what we talked about today.
Hopefully. Who
We
knows?
could probably talk forever.
Yeah.
Reminder again, April 21st, next Tuesday, for those of you that are looking for jobs or employers that have jobs. I would love to connect with you if you're interested in being a part of this job fair next Tuesday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time, and you can do the rest. This is going to be an epic event. There are going to be speakers, different educational events, but you're going to get to talk to actual companies. So if you're actually looking, let's test out what James talked about today and see how they tell their story, but you need to have your story ready too. If you have any questions about the career fair, you can DM me on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever you have question or wherever you want to catch me. My information is certainly out on LinkedIn if you want to get in touch with me. And I'm happy to send you to the right people. So James, thank you again. Let me bring you back live here so people can see your pretty face. We really appreciate you spending 45 minutes. We know you're busy. And I hope that people have learned a lot today. I think they have, and I appreciate it.
I hope so. Can I make two quick plugs?
You may.
If the sound of my voice does not cause you to run for the hills, if your cats are not clawing at the speakers of whatever available speaker you happen to be listening to me on, I have a podcast. I do it every week. It's called The Talent Cast, and every Monday it's mostly just me talking, but it's a deep dive on a certain subject to go into it. So I'm really trying to change the conversation around employer brand and the nature of hiring. At the same time, I also have a free newsletter. It's not a pitching newsletter. It's just here are headlines from around the industry about here's how things are changing and here are trends I'm seeing and here's what's going on. Go to employerbrand.news to check that out. Feel free to subscribe. That's the best way to squeeze more me out of me without me showing up to your house, because nobody wants that.
No, you're not allowed to leave your house.
It's true. Even in a safe 6 foot distance, podcasts are safer.
Absolutely. And I'll do a plug for the virtual, and you've been on one of these, the virtual happy hour that takes place tomorrow evening at 5:30 p.m. Central Time, bringing your favorite beverage, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, bring something to nosh on. Tomorrow, we are talking about something really, really interesting. We're talking about, as we come out of this, we're going to be talking about doing more with less, and us as a society, are we going to have to become more minimal, more minimalistic? I don't know what your thoughts are, James, but I think we're going to have to be.
Yeah.
Forces too.
For anybody who's been to the grocery store, as I have been recently, it's a lot like what I imagine the 50s were like, where you went to the grocery store and you're like, I don't know what's going to be there. There's going to be food, but it may not be carrots, it may not be this, but so I have to figure it out as I go. I think we're kind of heading back to that a little bit, where there is food, there is stuff, just not 24/7, always on availability of every single product in every single format and framework and size and shape and packaging we'd ever wanted. I think those days are gone for a while.
Well, did you see the latest news on we're digressing majorly here.
Yeah, what?
This is free riff here. By the way, Lindy Chapman, I don't know if you know Lindy James. She is a relocation expert based out of Boston.
Okay.
She's definitely mixing things up. Of course, you know the great Fanny Dunnigan, do you not?
Mm-hmm. I sure do.
She joined with it, so hello to you two, my favorite ladies out there. But the new thing that I saw, the headline was, will bacon become the next toilet paper?
Right. The pork production.
That Smithfield plant closed in Sioux Falls, and look, I'm a Jew, but I eat bacon. I love bacon. If bacon goes short and toilet paper goes short, that's it. I'm moving to Canada. Yeah,
there might be some good cause for that. Yeah.
But I'm not a big fan of Canadian bacon.
Yeah. Well, go south. Chorizo is delicious.
It is delicious, and there's there could be a short supply of chorizo too, but who knows? Anyway, thanks for those who have joined on virtual happy hour tomorrow. Go to James's. Tell me the website again to sign up for your newsletter.
The podcast is thetalentcast.com, and the newsletter is employerbrand.news.
Absolutely. So James, it's been real.
It has. It absolutely
I think
has.
we need to do this again. I'd love to be a guest on your show if you ever have guests, and
Absolutely.
do more of this, right?
That sounds great. I love it.
All right, brother. Be safe.
All right. Take it easy. Stay safe,
care.
man.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.